Welcome to Scone Baking Beyond. Hi, I'm Kathy, and I enjoy making scones, muffins, cookies, and all sorts of delicious baked goodies. I have been on a chocolate kick lately, and I've been wanting to share with you some sticky bun scones for a while. So today, I am sharing with you my recipe for fig chocolate walnut sticky bun scones. These scones have a yummy chocolate filling, and then for the sticky topping part, I added some sweet, chewy figs and some crunchy walnuts. These scones are so easy to make and so quick to make that you can have them for breakfast. So, let's bake. Whenever I make scones, the first thing I always do is I grate my butter. So I have here 1/2 cup of butter, and I'm going to grate it. And the reason why I grate the butter is that before it melts, it lets off some steam, and that steam will create nice little layers in your scones and will make for a little more tender scone. So let's grate our butter. There we go. There, it's all grated. I've handled this butter and it's starting to come up to room temperature, and I want to keep this butter as cold as I can for as long as I can. So I'm going to pop it up in the freezer. So now it's time to get the yummy chocolate filling put together. So I have here 4 ounces of dark chocolate, and I've broken them up into smaller pieces. And if you'd like, you can actually chop this up, but I find breaking it up into smaller pieces a little faster. So break those up. And to that, I'm going to add 4 ounces of unsalted butter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the microwave for about 30 seconds at 50% power. Give it a little stir, and then I'm going to keep on repeating for every 15 seconds, giving it another stir and melting it at 50% power in the microwave. So let me get this melted. So our chocolate is nice and melted. As you can see, it's a little too runny to put on scones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, but I'm going to check it every 5 minutes, see how it's doing, because what we want is something that's kind of like room temperature butter, peanut butter, something I can spread on the scone dough. So what I'm looking for is something I can spread. So I want to make sure I don't leave it in the refrigerator too long and then it hardens up on me. So I'm going to put it in there for about 15 minutes and keep on checking about every 5 minutes. So now it's time to get our scone dough together. So I have here a large mixing bowl, and to that I'm going to add 2 cups of unbleached flour and 1/4 cup of whole wheat pastry flour. I like adding a little whole wheat pastry flour to all my baked goods for the nutritional value of whole wheat. But this is whole wheat pastry flour, which is lighter in texture than regular whole wheat flour. I have here 1/2 cup of sugar. To that, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to whisk this together. And I turn my bowl a little bit just to make sure I get the flour off the bottom, whisked in with the other ingredients. So now it's time to add my cold butter. So I'm going to get the butter in there. It's nice and cold. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix up the butter and the flour mixture together, and all I want to do is just make sure that all my butter is covered with the flour mixture. Okay, make a well in the middle. I have here 1 cup of buttermilk. I'm going to add that in. So we'll get this totally mixed in, and what I'm kind of do is kind of fold it so I get the flour off the bottom, and all I want to do is get the flour mixture and the buttermilk combined. I don't want to overmix this. Okay, our dough is totally mixed, so I'm going to get some flour and flour board here. I'll get a little bit more. I always put a little bit on my hands too, because the dough tends to stick to your hands. Put that over there. So just kind of give it a little bit of turn, just give it a couple turns in the bowl there. We'll just put it there on our board. So I'm going to put this into like a square. And now we're going to leave the scone making world and take a little technique from croissant making world. Again, we're trying to keep this butter cold. And so what we're going to do is we're going to roll this out into a 12-inch by 12-inch square. Okay, let's see how we're doing. I'm going to just square this up a little bit with my scraper here. Now my scraper has inches measurements on it, so I can tell when I get to 12 inches. Very good. That's perfect, 12 inches by 12 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this into thirds. Again, I'm using a technique from croissant making. And I'm going to fold in thirds the other direction, and then back this way. And there we go. I've handled this dough, and it's that butter's starting to come up to room temperature. So I'm going to put this dough up in the freezer for 5 minutes to chill that butter back down again. Okay, now it's time to get our sticky topping together. So I have here just a small little pot. To that, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of dark corn syrup, and 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm going to put my burner on medium-high heat and bring this to a boil. Okay, now that it's come to a boil, I'm going to turn off my heat. I have here 2 ounces of chopped up dried figs. And I chopped them up about pea size, little small dices. So I'm going to add those in now. And I'm just going to stir this until they're combined and set them aside. Okay, taking my dough out of the freezer, put some flour on my board here. I'm going to roll this out into another 12-inch by 12-inch square. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. We'll just kind of straighten it up. This time we really do want it 12 inches by 12 inches. And we want to try and get these parts straightened up as much as possible. So let's see where we are. Perfect. There we are. We're going to go check up on our chocolate now. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes, but my chocolate is still a little too runny. So I'm going to put this back in the refrigerator for about 5 minutes. While our chocolate is coming up to a spreadable stage, it's still a little bit too runny. I prepared my muffin tin, and this is a 12-cup muffin tin, and I sprayed it with vegetable spray. And to that, I'm going to add 1 ounce or about 1/4 cup of chopped walnuts. And we're going to sprinkle about a teaspoon in each one of these. Just sprinkle it evenly between all the 12 cups here. And now it's time to add that sticky topping fig mixture. So it's about less than a tablespoon per. So you're just going to divide this evenly amongst all 12 cups again. We're going to set this aside. So our chocolate is nice and spreadable now. There. Kind of like peanut butter. So we're going to take a offset spatula and we're going to spread this all over our dough here, except the bottom 1 inch here. We want to make sure when we spread this that we get it all the way to the edges here, so that whoever gets these pieces are not missing out on this wonderful, yummy chocolate goodness. There, I think I've got it all on there. Oh, this is so good and so yummy. To add a little more chocolate, I have here 6 ounces of milk chocolate chips. So we're just gonna sprinkle those on, and that's just gonna add a little more chocolate goodness to this. We're just gonna give them a little pat down here. And now we're gonna roll it up like a cinnamon roll. And sometimes you have to scrape underneath just to get it to come off the board here. And you want to roll this as tight as you can, but you don't want to tear the dough. And you want to try and keep this 12 inches wide as you go. You just want to pinch that seam up, and we're going to roll it back over. You want to keep these as round as you can. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into 12, they're about 12 1-inch pieces. So find the middle. And we're going to put them, kind of round them back up and put them cut side up on top of that wonderful sticky topping. These are so good. That chocolate inside, it's kind of like a double chocolate inside, and then the chewy sweet figs and those crunchy walnuts. I preheated my oven to 375 degrees, and these take about 15 to 18 minutes to bake. Okay, it's been 18 minutes and I think they're done. So how I check these to see if they're done, you can't use an instant read thermometer because you might hit the chocolate, and they are golden brown, but how you check is you want to kind of touch the centers and just make sure they have a little spring back. There's a little firmness to them, but they spring back. If they're gushy, then they're not done yet. And you don't want to get them real hard. The outside will be a little more firmer, so you don't want to check the outside. You just want to check the inside and see if they'll just kind of bounce back at you. We're going to let these sit here and cool down for about 5 minutes, and then it's time to invert them. All right, it's been 5 minutes, and it's time to invert them. So I have a platter that's just a little bigger than my muffin tin, so I'm going to put that on top, and the muffins are still a little bit warm, so I have, and now, see if I can flip this. There we go. And we'll see if they all come out. Oh, there's one stuck. There we go. All right. Oh, don't those just look wonderful? Oh, these are going to be so good. I'm going to just let them cool down for about 5 more minutes, because otherwise that sugar on that sticky topping is going to be too hot. So I'm going to give them about 5 more minutes, and then it's time to try one. Okay, we've let them cool down about 5 minutes, so now it's time to try one. So I have here one. You see the figs on there and the walnuts. Let's cut into it. Oh, look at that chocolate ooey gooey goodness. These are so good. So now it's time to try a bite. Make sure they taste good. They look wonderful. That yummy chocolate filling. Oh, the dark chocolate, the milk chocolate, and then the sweet figs. They're nice, sweet, chewy, and then the crunchy of the walnuts. You know, figs and chocolate go so well together. And then, of course, walnuts. They go well with chocolate too. These scones are so good. For the complete recipe, please go to my website, sconebaking.com. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe for future videos. I hope this recipe and this video inspires you to bake. Thank you for watching.